Indeed. And greetings unto you, beloved and holy friends. What a dear pleasure it is to have you here again on another conscious evolution. Like when I come outside for these streams, it's basically the first time I'm outside all day. Or I try to stay outside of the deadly laser. It's nice having you friends here with me. Do bear with me as I sunscreen myself. Hi, brother bear. Hey, Kira Burb. How you doing? It's nice having you here with me. You first. That should be good, right? A little microscopic shield over all my face. We hate that. Should be good. Falling asleep finally. Love is true. Chivis. You still up? You up late, dear friendo? I'm just gonna get some of this water. This water on my fingers. Need to get that stuff off of me. Lol, beautiful. That should be fine, right? Yeah, I think so. Put rings back on hands. Put sunscreen in his little pocket. Yeah. And then we can start talking about our things that we talk about and stuff. Today's whole thing to talk about is being on the right side of history. You ever think about that? Is that something that you concern yourself with? Being on the right side of history. I had like a whole thing today, having a conversation with my dad about it a little bit. And it definitely does have this energy to it, right? I would like to believe that I am on the right side of history. I believe so, but I might be wrong. And if I was overly concerned with being on the right side of history, I might end up doing what is wrong. And I find myself thinking about that, especially today. What does it mean to be on the right side of history? What does that look like? The insomnia got you too, Kira, all the time, always, terribly. I'm so sorry to hear that, friends. All night. Well, water yourself. Give Joe my love. I will. Cool. Let's trade notes. It's interesting how I've been sleeping better, actually, again. Last night I actually got to bed at a little bit of more appropriate time. I ended up sleeping, let me see, 7 hours and 17 minutes. Look at me, crashing through the 7 hour threshold again. That's the device that tracks my data. I was looking for the device. I wanted to like see my average. I think my average has been like 6 hours, 14 minutes for the last month, which is less than ideal. I probably do need to sleep a little bit more. That's right notes. To me, the right side is the compassionate one. Like sleeping on your right side versus sleeping on your left side. What exactly do you mean? I've been sleeping better. No one likes a braggart. I've been sleeping so good, actually. My sleep has been so fantastic that I have extra to share. I'm just trying to create contrast. I'm not trying to brag, right? I don't think sleeping properly is like a brag thing. Again, I slept 7 hours, so I'm still under the 9 hour recommended. But I'm hopeful that you friends can get some rest as well. I am doing a bunch of things to myself right now, though, so I don't know how much that is influencing it. Okay, I totally have to sleep or I'm gonna get grounded by my 9-year-old. I love you too. Kira Burr, rest, close your eyes. It's nice having you. Oscar, I do. You were here for the first time yesterday, or at least you were commenting for the first time yesterday. Was it either you and a friend were asking some questions, about this space? It's nice having you here again. Welcome. The right side of history, lol. Okay, yeah. Sorry about that. Me spacing out. To me, the right side is the compassionate one. There we go. That is good. That is true. That gives me something to link onto. Compassion. Compassion. First question that comes to my mind is, how much compassion do I have for myself? And then as that extends to the rest of the world, how much compassion do I have for others? Should compassion be something universal? That if you're on the right side of history, are you compassionately with everyone? Or is there a way to be on the right side of history and be selectively compassionate? You tell me. I'm not exactly sure. I try to be as good a person as I can hope to be. But I am, relatively speaking, easily angered, you know? And I wonder about that a lot sometimes, especially as it relates to that thing you just said, right? Like the compassion as the other side. Can you be angry and compassionate simultaneously? It's a little bit difficult, I find. I'm not always angered. I'll preface with that as well, right? I'm only angered when I feel like a real sense of injustice is being committed. And I find, and this is my own bias, the ultimate injustice is a lack of self-care, right? It really pisses me off when I see those that I love not taking care of themselves. I had this conversation with my dad today, where I was like asking him, like, why is it there's so much resistance with the things that I try and bring into the family, right? The wisdom that the universe kind of provides us, reminds us of. And then there is just this, I don't know if the word is disregard, lack of receptivity, maybe. There is this lack of receptivity, and I wish I would be more chill. I wish I could not be received and not care or whatever. But I don't know if that's the way it works, I find. There was a conversation today about the let me maybe start, right? Brian Johnson just recently posted a short video covering a psilocybin mouse study where psilocybin has now been proven. Like they had a control group and then they had a silly group. And the silly group ended up living 30% longer on average than the control group, right? So you introduce these things into your body, and at least in mice, those entities end up living 30% longer. That's like the difference between living until you're 60 versus living until you're 90, right? And the conversation ended up spiraling a little bit, where it was again brought back to religiosity and that humans are sinful and the cost of our sin is our death, right? And so I don't know if he said it directly like that, but that's the way my mind interprets it. It's good for us to die. It's a good thing we die, because of how sinful we are. And I take issue with that every time. Every freaking time I take so much issue with that kind of narrative. Because again, if that was the truth, then what's the point of any of it, right? What's the point of exercise? What's the point of eating healthy? What's the point of getting adequate sleep? What's the point of drinking water? What's the point of practicing yoga, right? If the loon van die sonde is die dood. If the reward or yeah, if the reward I get for being a sinful being is dying, right? I don't believe in death, right? Not saying that things don't die, just like a fractal, like religion, right? Believing in it, seeing it as something that has to be inevitable. I don't want to believe in it. I don't want to give it any more power than it already has. Death is one of the most powerful forces in our existence, right? And me giving it my belief, I can't fucking bear it. I can't though. Don't have any any will to do so, right? And I take issue. I get so uppity, real uppity about it. I jump on my high horse and I uppity. And I want to get better. I do want to get better. Chillax a little bit. John says, yo, you prefer the economic jump of Botswana or the Sri Lankan national tire fabricant? Uh, I don't know what you're asking, but I'm pretty sure Sri Lanka is having a hard time right now. I think they're like hyperinflating their currency right now as well. Botswana isn't that much better off, uh, but they have, I want to say, decent policy. I don't know if it's good policy, but they have decent policy, especially as you would compare it to the rest of South Africa's policy, like or Africa's policy. They have some of the better some of the better ones. But again, I'm not necessarily an expert in these things. Be honest. I don't care for what it's worth, Sam. I kind of like people poking a little bit of fun at me. Gives me the opportunity to poke fun back. There we go. Yeah. I'm just getting my second screen up so I can read comments without having to reachy for you friends. My comments are taking their sweet ass time. There we go. I think that should be good. I'm gonna pause this. Boom. It hurts me to see the ones I love not taking care of themselves. I get that. We all have agency over our bodies, and if we choose to self-destruct, it is our choice to do so. You know, even though that might be true, Sam, that sounds very selfish. Because again, if they self-destruct, because there's like one of two things that are going to happen. One, they continue on the trajectory that they are, and they have to pay the negative consequences that comes alongside it. And then I have to either concern myself with or take direct responsibility for their well-being as it relates to trying to actually help them when they are in that ill taken care of state, right? In other words, my mom and my dad are not willing to listen to me as it relates to creatine supplementation and stuff that boosts, new neuron development. And then there is a decline, and then there is a potential expectation that there has to be care given, right? And that's going to be painful experientially. It's going to cause suffering because I don't want that to be that way. I don't want my parents to be in a bad space, and I don't want to technically have to take care of my family when they're in a bad space. And then there's the other alternative where I don't. Because of their unwillingness to listen, I kind of like withdraw and I take a step back and I don't concern myself. And there's pain to be had in that as well. And in that way, I feel like it's not as easily said, dear Sam, of like, yeah, that's their choice. Because it affects me too, right? Yes, you get to choose how you want to choose. If you want to drink and drive while I'm in the car, you can drink and drive if you want to, right? It's your body, it's your actions. But if we crash and I die in the car accident because of your drinking and driving, you are directly responsible, even though it is something you did to yourself, right? You are responsible for the way that it influences and affects those around you as well. And that's where I kind of like really get, or I get uppity, right? I get really in my head of what is right and what is wrong, especially as it relates to the scientific consensus, right? And I'm willing to admit that science is not perfect. The cool thing about science is the fact that it can change, right? That's the whole point of it. Instead of making it out to be the ultimate truth, it is the pursuit of what truth is. And it's then the active verification of that truth, right? Over and over again. And then to try and be that person in my life who stands up for that truth, and then to find that I'm not received, right? That the truth is ignored, the truth is brushed under the rug, The truth is inconvenient, right? Uncomfortable to accept. And then there is just this perpetuation of the same negative patterns that I'm seeing and noticing the destruction that happens because of. It peeves me extremely. It drives me insane, to be completely honest. It makes my mind scream loud, like very loud, right? It's like that fractal of trying to like you see someone veering off the road, right? And then you start shouting at them. They're in a car traveling at X speed away from you. Maybe they're listening to music on the radio as well. They can't hear you, but you're screaming, right? Hey, look out! That's what it feels like, all right? And it is disheartening. You feel pretty powerless for it, unfortunately, sometimes. It's okay that you feel things. It's okay to express those things. What's not okay is guilting yourself or them. You have done your duty in warning them. That is all you can do. I don't think I use guilt that much, dear Sam. Guilt is not really a tool that I try and use. It's more like a matter of sunk cost fallacy or opportunity cost. That's kind of the way that I approach it, where I'm like, yes, I get that you're doing all of these things because you've been doing these things for so long that it's easier to just continue doing these things because you've convinced yourself that that's what you do, right? I get that. And then the opportunity cost thing is like every second you spend not taking care of yourself today is 100 seconds, 1,000 seconds, 100,000 seconds of pain you're left to experience in the future, right? And again, I believe we're all one, right? I do actually believe that. I believe there is no separation. So what that means to me is that if you suffer in the future, that is me suffering as well, right? And again, that's maybe not the healthiest way to go about things. I'm willing to admit that much as well. But that's the way my brain has started to process information. It's like I want consciousness to have a better time on planet Earth, right? I want consciousness to cease its suffering because a consciousness that suffers cannot be helpful, cannot be kind, cannot be patient, cannot be at peace, right? It's preoccupied with its own suffering when it's in that state. And I'm already seeing the precursors of that suffering, and it's not what we're supposed to be. It's good for us to die. I think that too. We all have our time. And as Captain Pike said, life is to be worn gloriously. And I think it would lose that something special if it were infinite. There is no such thing as infinite unless we relate it to the conscious experience itself, dear Sam. Even if you get to live for 100,000 years as a human being, it will still be a finite experience because you'll only be able to eat that much in a moment, right? You'll only be able to say that much in a period of time. You'll only be able to see that much with your eyes right in front of you, right? So the finiteness and the uniqueness and the depth that comes with it in this experience doesn't go away with us getting to live for longer. Not even a little bit, right? Not even a little bit. And again, we're not here to die. That's not what we're here for, right? If we were here to die, we would pop in and pop out quick, right? Because that would have been our objective. But that's clearly not what we're here for. We're here to live, right? And where do we draw the line? Am I here to live 50 years, right? Because again, we have these biases. When a teenager dies or a child dies, we find that as appalling. We find that as a great shame, as a tragedy, right? But if a 100-year-old person dies, we accept that as normal. We accept that as to be expected. We accept that as just the way things are, right? Where I believe, and this is what I'm kind of advocating for, it is equally as tragic, right? Whether a 1-year-old dies or a 100-year-old person dies. Because again, the only reason they died in either circumstance is because of some sort of accident, right? Unfortunately, when it comes to our aging process, it is like an accident that your body keeps making, right? The accident is uh, messing up base pairs, or the accident is creating a methylation group on our DNA that switches on our, chronic cortisol or whatever, right? And in that way, it's a mistake. It's a fault. It's wrong, if we are going to say it like that, to age and to die as a result of it. And that's the kind of like the problem I'm trying to solve for in my own life. And it's cool to see, right? And I was showing up with the whole gonna live for 1,000 years since before Brian Johnson was kind of like going with the same approach, right? And it makes me happy to see that it's not just me. Clearly, there is this awakening happening in our species that points us towards this new way of being, right? This shift in consciousness, if you will. And it is up to every single one of us to almost like be an advocate for that shift, I believe. Right? You have to be that version of self that actually chooses to be differently to all the versions of self that has been before you. Right? To want to live for 1,000 years seems very absurd. Right? Some people might even see it as evil. Some people might see it as hubris. Some people might see it as delusion, right? There's so many negatives to apply onto that way of being. And it's interesting to me to see which kinds of people do that, right? More often than not, the people that have this kind of like doomer perspective on reality of like, yeah, you know, that's just the way it is. No, it's not. There are creatures on Earth that don't just the way it is, right? They literally reverse their DNA back to a cellular state where they were younger, so they continue existing. There are things on Earth that live for hundreds of years, right? For multiple hundreds of years. So if they could, right, then again, like try and argue with a turtle. It's like, oh yeah, turtle, 300-year-old turtle, your life would be more meaningful if you died at 30. And the turtle is like, nah, bro, I'm having a good time, though, eating my grass and stuff. Just turtling, right? Why would a turtle want to live for 300 years? I can't imagine I want to be a turtle. And still, that turtle wanted to be turtle for 300 plus years. Why? Why, if that's not what we're here for, right? And then again, when that turtle dies, I promise you that it didn't want to. That turtle would live for fucking 300,000 years if it was allowed to do so. It would. I believe that. I actually believe that. Everything would continue living if it could. And that's what the human spirit is, right? Is that I can. I can. I couldn't before, but I will in the future. My comments are not loading. My internet seems to be maximum botrashius. That moment when loading comments, it takes minutes. There we go. Yay. Yay. Let's see some of the rest. John, I think I read this one. I just said that yesterday. It is selfish, but it's our choice. And it's your choice to spend your energy trying to help someone who does not want your help. Right use of energy is to back off. And I believe you in saying that, Sam, that the right use of my energy is to back off. And it really causes me suffering to feel like I have to. And we have Square South Africa restarting my stream, seeing if that helps any. The right use of energy is to back off. I don't think I use guilt that much. As someone who has been batting you off about smoking, darling, one, yes, you absolutely use guilt. Maybe I don't know the definition of guilt. I'm curious. Let me see. Mm. Define guilt. Loady, loady. Still loading. Still making a load. Hey, Giovanna's here with us. Hey, Joe. Okay. The fact of having committed a specific or applied offense or crime. I don't think that's exactly the way I use guilt, but the informal would be make someone feel guilty, especially in order to induce them to do something. Hmm. Hmm. Especially as it relates to the smoking thing. I can imagine myself being vocal about it. Have I been guilting you, Sam? Making someone feel guilty in order to induce them to do something. The thing that I would then want you to induce you to do is to vaporize your cannabis instead, right? But I'm trying to imagine what exactly the guilt factor was like. I remember just advocating for flavor, right? Advocating for flavor and for well being and for less stink and for more money saving, right? None of those are necessarily like guilt inducing in my mind. Maybe it could be seen as like you should feel guilty because you're wasting money, or you should feel guilty because you're doing something that tastes bad, or you should feel guilty because you're stinking, or you should feel guilty because you are causing yourself carcinogenic harm that increases your likelihood of developing cancers. Right? But I never say that directly, right? So maybe it's implied guilt, if anything. It is interesting how we interpret. Wasn't it you who told me guilt is a good thing, Sam? Like, I'm pretty sure you were the one who like stand guilt as a tool to get people to behave appropriately, right? And I don't know, right? If I, for instance, if I had a son or a daughter who I loved so dearly, right, and I saw them smoking joints, I would be advocating for their well-being as well. I'd get them a Dynavap so that they wouldn't have to induce all of the cancer-causing properties onto themselves. But we try to do that with you too, dear Sam, right? Like I mentioned that we as a community could bring money together and buy you a Dynavap, and then you just like went up and straight up said you wouldn't use it even if we got you one. So like I don't know how I'm supposed to process information like that in a way where it's good, right? Like what am I supposed to say? Am I just supposed to accept? I guess they're supposed to accept. But then the other side of it, right? Like if, for instance, and like this is now an imagined circumstance that we create. If you, 20 years from now, like did end up developing like esophageal cancer or lung cancer, and you share that with the community, right? I feel like that's where my mind really gets like kind of like bent on, is that I would then lack compassion. And that's the thing that I worry about, right? Like the whole being on the right side of history, Kira Burb sharing that. I would lack compassion in that moment because I would be so convinced slash inundated by this information of I was trying to help and you refused my help. And now you're paying the consequences of refusing that help. And I can't feel sorry for you, right? It's like telling your kid, if you put your hand on that stovetop, you're gonna get burned. And then you see that kid with a smirky face burn their fingers, and then they start screaming. Right? I'll be like, yeah, yeah, that's what happens. That's what happens. It's kind of how it be. Hey, I'm only now seeing James's message. It didn't come through earlier. James is probably not here anymore. I think right side of the history is the most arrogant statement to be made. The Weimar Republic was on the right side of history. It does not mean it was effective. Being right did not protect anyone. That's the thing that I was thinking about as well, kind of like as it relates to the stream, right? Is that being right doesn't help me, right? Experientially. Like I've been right about so many things that I've told people over and over and over again. And it doesn't help me to be right, right? I can do what's right for myself and I can experience the benefits of that. But being right about things as it relates to other people just alienates them, right? It just makes them feel even more separate, right? Unworthy of, etc., etc. When the mouse laughs at the cat, it means that there is a hole nearby. African proverb. My comments are not working again. South African potato internet. Please, sir, can I have some comments? Oh, she is. Just closed it up. There we go. Let me come back to it. How? I had to pop out for a few minutes to put Kira to bed. Were you still talking to me? No, I think I'm done. Well, now look at infinite life the way. Does a turtle develop prejudice? Does a jellyfish that can become a larva again carry hate from its old life into its new one? I don't know. Pogboy is here again. Hey, Pogboy. I see Lucy here too. I don't know, dear Sam. And again, right, the fact that you bring up those two traits of humanity makes me understand why dying seems like a good thing, right? Because if you really believe that those are the only two things that humanity is capable of, or the primary things that humanity is capable of, having prejudice and carrying hate from an old life, right? Like you can carry love from an old life too. You can carry wisdom to teach those that come after you, right? You can be wise and kind and patient with those that are not, as an older person as well. In fact, if you look at the data, older people become more content with their life, become more critical of their own mistakes, become more at peace with their experience as it is, right? So in my mind, I imagine getting to age, I want to use the word gracefully, from the perspective of not aging in the way where it like destroys your cellular health, in the way where it causes increasing worse quality of life. I imagine people only becoming better, Sam, right? Like 1,000-year-old person has had 1,000 years to deal with their own bullshit. I believe one of the big reasons that we are as divided as we are is because we live as short lives as we do, right? Because before you know it, you're dead, all right? And during that whole process, you're trying to survive and you're conniving and you're stabbing people in the back and you're trying to get yours before you do, right? And again, if we live for 1,000 years, I think it will start dawning on us that that's not the way we're supposed to do it, right? Like there's a better way to do that. And it is going to take us time to learn what that better way is, not only as a society, but especially as an individual. It takes time to grow. It really does. Animals are allowed to live longer than us because they don't have the same capabilities of darkness that we do. It sounds like a very convenient point. I've seen animals do way darker things, dear Sam. Animals eat their own young, you know. Animals will kill the young of their peers. Animals will take turns raping, right? Like animals do that stuff too, dear Sam, right? And they live long as well. So I don't know. Again, I think human beings do less of that stuff because we have become socialized. We have learned that there is a consciousness on the other side that can experience suffering, where animals don't have that cognition, which means they don't have the same capacity to become better the way that humans do. So again, I'm gonna advocate for humanity all the way through, indefinitely. I am a human, so I have that bias, but that is what I'm here for after all. I am for living longer, but not if it means I have to obsess about what I should be doing to live longer every waking second. That's the nice thing about living longer, Mojo, is that it's pretty simple. You know, it's not it's not something you have to obsess over all the time. Every day we're going to eat food, right? So in that way, it doesn't have to be something we obsess over. We just have to put proper systems in place. So we eat food that's good for us. Every day we have to sleep, so we can put systems in place so we sleep adequately. Every day we have to drink water, so we can ensure that the water we drink is clean. Every day we have to socialize and interact and participate in this world, so we can ensure we do so positively. And then as it relates to the things that we do health wise, every day we want to be healthy, right? There's no day that I wake up and I wish I was sick. I wish I was completely congested, and I wish my body was hurting and that I couldn't get up from bed right now, right? So in that way, it's it's not out of the realm of what you're already doing to do that which will ensure your longevity. It's just a shift of attention, right? Because you have so much time in a day, right? And you're going to do the same things in every single day. And we as human beings are habitual creatures. We we get into routine. And the routine I believe that's good for us is one that's going to ensure, right, our continued existence. Today's stream topic has been about being on the right side of history, right? People that advocate for the death of humanity, uh, I don't believe are on the right side of history, right? Some people literally believe, without being able to convince otherwise, that humanity is a plague on the earth, right? That our species is appalling, that all of us should die. It would be better for the earth if all of us should die. And sorry to say, but I don't agree. I simply don't agree, right? In fact, I am staunchly against that as a narrative. I believe that in the far future, we're going to look back at this time and be really shocked by the things that we did to ourselves, especially as it relates to our well being and our health, the stuff we put into our bodies. Mm-hmm. Have I been guilting you, Sam? Yes, you have. You tell me it's bad, then expect me to change my behavior because it's bad. Like I should be attached to my life and motivated to prolong it. Yeah. Maybe I thought something would change, all right, like with like having a kid. Because like having a kid kind of like puts me in the state of like I would love to see my kid grow up. I would love to see my kid get loved in the future. Maybe they'll have kids. I would love to see the kids of my kids grow up to be beautiful people, right? Like in that way, longevity is directly attached to your ability to participate lovingly in this world. And I am very obsessed with it, admittedly, Sam, but I do understand that many people aren't. Right? That's why drinking is as prevalent as it is. That's why we consume as much sugar as we do, because we're gonna die anyway, so I might as well enjoy the ride as a mentality. I don't believe that's what we're here for. The human experience is a complex one, very deep indeed. Honestly, if you want to move forward with grace, then just let let them. It's true. The Weimar Republic was on the right side of history. What the actual fuck? They got fucked in the Treaty of Versailles, yes, but that doesn't mean they were on the right to elect someone out of fear. Yeah. I see it kind of like it's my job to protect my values on others. If someone acts in a way that clashes with my values, I don't have to approve or participate, but I can let them. That way, I stay true to myself without trying to control anyone else. It's true. I think the thing that I get really stuck on, Joe, and I love that you said that, and it's so beautifully said, is the whole like teamwork dynamic, right? The whole fractal of like you're only as strong as your weakest link. You know, it's like I'm either going to like the let them thing, right? If I let one of the links rust itself, and then the chain snaps, and then you know the machinery grinds to a halt or breaks, right? It is my responsibility because I'm going to experience the direct consequences of that break. So the alternative is not including them in my chain. And that is equally as painful, right? Because I don't want that either. I love the people that I love so much that I'm willing to advocate for their well being. And it's interesting to hear Sam, talk about this today because that's the way my family see me too, Sam. I guess, right? My family also sees me as this person that, to read your words, this person that guilts them, telling them what is bad and expecting them to change their behavior, wanting them to care for their life and be motivated to prolong it. Right? Like it baffles my mind that that is seen as something that is wrong, but it seems to be, something that people really don't like. And there's only so much that I can do. And I've tried, right? And I've failed. I have failed miserably for the most part with most of the people that I've tried to help in that way. But not everybody, right? I am very fortunate to have people in my life that do actually take me seriously and do actually respect my perspective. And the thing that kind of like bolsters my own ego, to say it as it is the fact that every single time someone does actually meet me halfway, kind of take my advice, they experientially, directly tell me how their life is improved, right? Joy Vive just recently told me directly, Melt, you were being so, and she used the word obnoxious, you were being so obnoxious about the practice of yoga. And I kept pushing against it and I kept pushing against it. And as soon as I started, my quality of life has improved so drastically. Thank you for not giving up on me, right? And like hearing something like that just shows me that what am I supposed to do, right? What am I supposed to do? I can let them, but I would rather them hate me for trying to help than hate me for not, right? That's my own bias. That's my own bias. Why do they have to hate you? I know. And that's the other part of the bias, right? Is I do feel like a social pariah for the most part, for my whole life, in fact, because my whole life I've been so obsessed with the factual. I got called chappy when I was in primary school, right? So from ages about 8 to 13, they called me chappy. And we have this brand of gum in South Africa called chappy, where it's like one of those little pieces of rice paper or whatever, a wrapping around a piece of gum. And then when you unfold that piece of gum, on the inside of it, there are these facts. Did you know? And then a fact. Did you know? And then a fact, right? And these facts of reality fascinate me. And I was that person who would show up experientially in conversation with these factual informations, trying to share this depth of what we know as a species, right? Instead of being a misinformed, bumbling fool, I participated in the education of myself and trying to portray that education to other people. And then I got called a piece of gum, right? I got, what's the word I'm looking for? Verklein neer is the Afrikaans word. I got minimized, made to be small, right? Like a piece of gum for being that kind of person, right? And again, it's their prerogative whether or not they want to listen to me or not. But we know what is right these days, right? What's the right way to approach our well-being? And it is hard. I'm willing to admit that much as well. And I've said this literally, the work you have to do on yourself is going to be the hardest work you'll do in your life. Nothing will compare. Everything else will pale in comparison to the amount of work you'll have to do just on yourself. And knowing helps me do the work, right? Because if I can have like some sort of scientific basis to rest on, it's easier for me to make the decision because it's not just based on vibes. It's not just like, oh, I feel like doing this thing, so I'm gonna do it. It's like this is what the science says. And the science says if you kind of like nudge yourself towards this trajectory, there is this outcome. And that outcome is usually one that I want. I want longevity. I want an active brain. I want all of the neurons I have. I want the sense of well being that comes with taking care of myself. Right? And then you see the dismay, you see the pain that your family directly goes through, and you want for them that same benefit. And then in trying to get them to participate in the ways that will get them those benefits, instead of absorbing that as this is good wisdom, they see it as you trying to guilt them. Like, I'm not trying to guilt you. You're already in the bad state, right? You're already feeling bad. I'm not doing that to you. I'm trying to get you out of that bad state. Yeah. I have grown quiet for what it's worth, but in this space I don't have the luxury of just observing, right? I have to be a host. I have to continue talking so that the space can continue progressing. I'm pro at eating froyo while doing tricks with a yo-yo. Hey Hoopy, it's nice having you here. The actions of animals, rape, etc., we don't project morality on them because all they have is instinct. The idea of morality comes from a higher level of thinking that they're not capable of. And because we know better, we expect to be better. We're expected to be better than them. Yeah, and we are, right? For the most part. If you had to take like a litmus test of the average humanity, the average human is probably better than the average dolphin, right? Dolphins are very intelligent creatures, very intelligent. But if you had to go apples to apples, the average person is probably better than the average dolphin, right? And again, that to me means that we are, it's our birthright, let me say it that way, for us to live longer. Because we have kind of like evolved to that point where we can be the stewards of the earth, right? That's biblical as well, Gersam. Why would God give us domain over earth, right? If He didn't consider us good, if He didn't consider us loving, why would He give us mushrooms that extend our lifetimes, right? Why would He give us this stuff if He wanted us to die as soon as possible, right? It's like I'm listening. I'm listening to what reality is telling me, and I'm trying to portray my perspective on it. I might be wrong, maybe, maybe I am. But unless I'm proven to be, I'm going to continue on the trajectory that I'm on, right? Showing up for what I believe is right, continuing to exist, continuing to take care of yourself, because I've seen it in myself as well. When I was not taking care of myself, when I was like 40 pounds overweight and depressed, I was hateful. I hated my life. And as a result, everyone that was in my life was subject to that hate as well. That's just the reality of my perspective, right? And I understand that to the point where I can see it now. I can see it in our species. I can see the way that those symptoms manifest in those that I love. And I can't sit by, and like I have a really hard time just staying quiet when I see that stuff. It feels like there's a bit of projecting going on, and it's abrasive. The whole "you're doing wrong" thing is going where energy is being directed today, and that kind of thing is rarely taken with ease. You're right. I'm not trying to be abrasive. I'm just really trying to stand for something, right? And it hurts me that this thing that I'm standing for is seen as faulty, that I'm doing what I'm not supposed to be doing and advocating for well-being, right? Like it doesn't fit in with my logic system. It confuses me. I'm confused. I am confused. And I don't know how to not consolidate, remedy, cope. I don't know how to cope with that, other than just to separate myself. Melt, you do a thing happen or do a thing from happening. A bit of both, depending. When things happening, I do things, and when I do things, things happen. So it's a matter of what my goals are. I think, Hoopy. We're reminded to tend to our gardens. This is the way. He's just a little stubborn Joe. It's who he is, and I never expect or want him to change that. I have no problem restating my boundaries as many times as I need to. I haven't asked you again, Sam, right? Since that last time that we talked about the whole Dynavap thing, I kind of dropped it, right? Because, yeah, I have to, right? Not because I want to, but because I have to. Because people just won't listen to me, no matter how much I plead. I'm not crying wolf. That's the thing, right? But it's like people have convinced themselves that I do. I've never cried wolf, not once, right? Fact check me. Fact check me. See, has Melt Capped told us do something and then actually it was bullshit? Check me out. See if you can find an instance. I'm genuinely curious. And in that way, it's like disheartening to still feel like the boy who cried wolf, despite that I haven't. Right? To still feel like the society that I'm in has zero trust in me and the things that I say. And I'm not saying that to everybody, right? This is a large projection, and I'm not trying to make you feel unseen in the trust that you have extended to me. I want that to be very clear as well. But I have many people in the society alongside me, right? And my family is the closest that I have to a perspective on that fractal. I think it doesn't help the fact that I am uh, not in the same belief system, right? I think that's one of the things that really makes it almost impossible for them to listen to me. Because I don't believe in their religion, obviously I have to be wrong kind of vibes, right? So I kind of understand where that is coming from as well. But usually the things that I share from scientific basis, right? Like, you don't have to believe me. Here are the studies. Here are all of the people that has this been tested on. Oh, we really need to meet one another halfway and from a place of neutrality, of grace and curiosity, rather than judgment. It's true. It's a boundaries thing. I'm big on respect. What is a universal source of pain again? Wanting things to be different. Stop wanting people to change when they won't. Yeah, it's good advice, Sam. It's good advice. I can absorb that. Maybe I'm just feeling tilted too because this is bossy dad energy and I have dad issues. Bossy dad energy. At least you know he can lay down the law, Jovan. Now you get to be the fun one. It's true. Yeah. Again, right? Like this dad energy, a dad loves. I do believe that, right? A dad loves extremely so. And I don't know if I'll ever get to have kids myself, but I do take responsibility for those in my life like a dad would, right? I've like even been called Papa Bear at like festivals and stuff because I'm that guy that makes sure people stay hydrated. I'm that guy that makes sure people eat something. I'm that guy that encourages people to not overdo it with what they are doing to themselves and make sure they get adequate sleep. Like I am that person. That's the kind of person that I am. And people rarely like me for it, right? Rarely they like me for it. But there are a few people, like Christian is one of them, Jovan has been one of them as well, that really recognize where it is I'm coming from. And they do meet me halfway, as she said, right? Being met halfway like that has been life-saving to me. right? And it's built some of the most powerful relationships I have in my life. And I am very obsessed with having real good relationships like that, right? And again, when I form a relationship like that, I never want it to end. I want to be friends with Christian for thousands of years. I want to be friends with Jovan for thousands of years. And the only way for that to be so is if they live for thousands of years alongside me. And in that, Sam, I am selfish too. I'm willing to admit that much. Me too is selfish. Is there better reasons or worse reasons to be selfish? Splitting hairs. It's the whole bad cop, good cop, bad cop stuff. I don't think I'm pregnant with hate. It's not true for me. Poopy. You say some of the most unhinged shit, bro. Being pregnant with hate. That moment when you. I'm gonna stop. Sometimes, Melt, you just have to let it go. You're stuck on it. Things will hold as they will. If you want to help, we got to step back every now and then again and ask ourselves if what we're doing is helping or hurting the situation. In this case, how much time has been spent and how much movement towards your cause have you made? Things will unfold as they were. You're right, Jean. Coming back to that whole fractal of like, I really wish I could care less. I wish sometimes, I'm not even joking, I really wish I didn't care as much as I do. It would make my life a lot easier. But that's not how it works. It's not how it works. Maybe I can teach myself. Maybe I can work on it. Oh, I'm a dad. I didn't know that, Mojo. I actually didn't know that. Really? I didn't know you were a dad, bro. One of the hardest things to figure out is how to give advice in a way that is likely to be accepted. It's a hard skill to master. Oh, I'm still trying. I'm still trying, bro. And I don't know why it is some people will take my advice, right? At least, I think 13 people have taken my advice on the Dynavapps, right? Jovan, there is Kristen, Joy Vive, Melita, Duck Dad. I think you have a Dynavap too, right, Mojo? But I think you might have had one before I advocated for it. Then there is John, and there's Max, and then there is Tines, and there is Martin wants to as well, but I don't know if he has just yet, right? I think the last time I counted it was like 13, but I'm spacing on some of the names, right? And every single one of those person in just that little microcosm is like, yeah. Kayana too, technically. And Giovanna has gifted Dynavapps to some of her friends as well, you know, after realizing how nice it is, right? And every single one of those people following that advice have an improved quality of life, right? And maybe there is like, again, another layer of selfishness attached to that as well, where I want to be that person that improves your quality of life selfishly. I want to, right? If I could press buttons and just make your life better from afar, right? Make you know, person bank account plus 00 at the end, right? I would be doing shit like that. I would literally make your life better. I would make that my primary concern all day, every day. I'd be pushing buttons to make other people's lives better. But the only buttons I have to press is my words and my own actions and my own experiential evidence, right, that I've gained through trial and error. Yeah, this so. Bless you, Mojo. What works, Mojo? I'm a new mom, and sometimes I get so overwhelmed I straight up start communicating with noises. Do need help. Love y'all. There it goes. I was wondering. Love y'all. Love you, dear Joe. Love you, Joe Burb. Love you, Kira Burb. You up again? I see you're back here. Can't imagine that the 30 minutes. Yeah, I couldn't sleep. The 30 minutes you got to be enough. I see Dylan here with us as well. Hey, Dylan. Oh, oh, he's me freaking back. Ooh. Ah. Oh. Life. It fucks me up a little bit, yeah. Holy shit. This experience is really difficult. The question is coming back into my mind of what will I become? What will I become? Will I become an outcast? Or will I become someone who gathers? I will become stronger, that I do know. Yeah. More capable of holding all of my care and not being broken by it. Sunny sunshine, all mine, all morning. You get the afternoon breeze. It's nice. You can see the red light is coming down on me. Sun is setting behind us over that tree. Has like, oopsie, has like that much space left. Well, actually, that much space left, and then it's going to be over the horizon. I only got a little bit more. That's some yin yoga that might help with that. Yoga with Adrian has a quick sequence for insomnia. That's not a bad suggestion. I've actually followed some Adrian classes as well. Another thing that you could potentially look into, and this might even be a little bit less physically activating, is something called Yoga Nidra. Nidra, Yoga Nidra. It's basically just tapes you put on, and then you lay very still and you listen to those tapes. And I found that they put me to sleep really quickly. They are very relaxing. Also, insane ape noises can sometimes do the trick. It's a rough day. Sleep is hard. You fucking for real? I'm supposed to keep making Neanderthal noises at him. Checks out. Checks out. I saw a video just like, I think this morning, with a child throwing a temper tantrum after the mother puts back the thing they put in the trolley, right? Just like kicking and screaming on the ground. And then the mom drops down onto the ground as well, kicking and screaming. And then that child stands up, and that child picks up the box of cereal that they threw, and then they put it back into space. That's like the equivalent of Neanderthal noises, right? You can give the advice of like, no, no, please, child, let's behave in the supermarket as to not embarrass ourselves. But throwing down and temper tantruming next to them is kind of like the equivalent of Neanderthal noises, and it seems to work. It seems to be very clear as a motivator. It's like, oh wow, I don't want that. That looks yikes. But yikes. We have showed up for a whole hour being on the right side of history. How about that? I love how this conversation ended up unfolding. It feels like it was very true to the topic, right? It showed the amount of nuance in trying to be on the right side of history because you can try desperately so and then end up not being in the minds of others. And then on the other side, right, like we have right now, you can be actively on the wrong side of history, right? Like hurting people, exploiting people, taking advantage of people, befriending evil individuals. And you can be considered to be on the right side of history at the end of it. All right. You can become president of the United States. It's wild. It is really wild. This world is very intricate. I'll show you some art. Look at that. Big old blue star right in the centers. These shapies satisfy my brain folds. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey! Ah, 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 ah. Eva Riling. Ah, hey! Wat ek gesê? Ek gesê nee. Kobe. Nee. Kom hierso. Hierso, kom hierso. Kobe. Ah, ah. Ah, ah. Kom hierso. Yeah. That's what I thought. Yeah. Donkey? Mooi. Mooi. I say. That's good boy. That's a good boy not barking, okay? Nee, wah, wah. Nee, Ons is mooi soet, ja. Ons is mooi soet, woefies. Ja. Ons is soet. Long melt stream today. Longer than an hour. We're here. It's nice having you here, Nancy. We are showing flowers and getting ready for poem readings, so might not be a 2-hour live stream. But it was nice being here with us, sharing some depth, especially because today's stream topic was a sensitive one. We've been talking about what it means to be on the right side of history, and that does come with a lot of nuance. Dude, you South African? Ek is. Ek is hier in Suid-Afrika gebore. Ek het baie geleer by hierdie land. Maar fuck, bro. It's volty so. It's wild here. I don't know if I want to continue learning what this country is teaching me. I'll just say it in so many words. This country has taught me how to be very vigilant, very obsessed with right and wrong. What's that? Ooh. Ryan just sent me the yoga capitals. Thank you, brother Ryan. I almost every time get emotional when he sends me these emails. Love is true. Getting to earn a little bit of a living. Nice. We like that. Lekker boot. Lekker. Bless your friend. Yeah, somebody guessed right. They didn't have to ask, where you from? They just kind of like, are you South African? Puts on spectacle. You West of Africans? Yeah. Yeah, lekker boot. Bless you too. Subscribe, oh. You must subscribe. Subscribers. I want to see number go up. Oh. So I'm gonna be looking for it. I would argue right and wrong sides of history is just another fractal of the lie of dualism, assigning good/bad designation to the direction of flow of time seems fundamentally flawed somehow. I don't think you're far off in that, Sam. But, and this is where the buts come in, right? We know now that some things are bad for us, right? Like food dyes. Like we were consuming so much food dye, like it's like there's no tomorrow. You know, this is normal. We're eating food dyes, but like in no mind can you really like look at the processes, right? The chemical process that produces those food dyes, and you go, yeah, Give me a spoon. I'll have one spoonful. And in that way, like we'll look back at history and be like, whoa, humans were doing what now? They were poisoning themselves slowly, giving themselves, different esophageal and bowel cancers because they wanted their food to be colorful, right? And I was like, aren't the foods already colorful? Yeah, but the foods they were artificially making with like gallons of corn syrup, they wanted that to be colorful too. So it looked more appealing. So it like, what's the word? So it appeals. Appeals to their monkey brain. So they can eat more of it, so they can become addicted, so they can go back and consume even more of it. And then there was like a whole global health epidemic with obesity that so many people were fighting against, right? Like even though it might be one of those things where maybe it's a lie, but we're going to look at our history and be like, ooh, could have done that better. Hey Google, can I order a vat of red? Yeah, is it red 42 or something like that? Of red number 3. Yeah, you can technically. I think Google will be like, you can order vats of that stuff. I don't know if we'll be able to order vats of it for much longer, as we try to phase that stuff out of our diets, but one day. Kira, I like Arcurian sound frequencies, YouTube for sleep. Those help as well. Getting a bunch of advices, right? Maybe you should do all 3. One yoga with Adrian, then listen to some frequencies, and then put on a yoga nidra. And then maybe you'll fall asleep. I'll check it out. Thanks. Bless. Holy shit, does anyone actually guess right? Sam, it's going to be a wild September. Yeah, with the shit going on in the US, I go and look at some history videos. Look, yeah, man, we have anything exciting going on this month. Man, the video Eisenhower made after World War II is super helpful in explaining how fascism spreads and what we can do. Don't be convinced. Ask me after coffee. Hey, meow. Nice having you, Malita. I think, your Instagram post recently. Were you at the beach? Looked like beach to me. Looked nice. Sending you blessings. You still doing keto, Melita? Seeing you, I was like, she looks healthy and strong. And I've been doing keto as well, and it's wild how quickly the body changes as soon as you start to apply, ketosis. It's kind of absurd. Purple Beach, yeah, mostly keto. Bless you. You look healthy and strong, friend. Me too. Right now, I've also been like full ketoing again. Last month, I was really bad. I was consuming sugar like it was going out of style, and I started feeling worse, hormonally, personally, psychologically. I just didn't feel very good. And now that I'm kind of partaking of higher fat diet again, right? Like I like, I'm not drinking coffee right now, but I'm drinking keto tea. I take rooibos tea, and then I take about 60 grams of butter. It looks absurd. Like when you cut your butter, if other people look at you while you're doing that, it's like, what are you doing? Do you know what you're doing? I'm like, I'm supposed to get like close to 70% of my calories from fats alone. It's like, this is fine. I'm doing what I'm Oh, bless you. It's nice having you here. Melita, sending you love. I'll check it out. People have been really messed up. People have been doing really messed up shit for centuries. It's just amazing. We've made it this far. It's true. We survived the freaking Cold War, yo. We could have been just like nuked out of existence. We might have been. This might be the reality where we didn't end up nuking ourselves out of existence. And as such, it is pretty impressive that we're still here at all. We get to continue because we've transcended some of our great filters. We just need to keep surviving. I want to meet the aliens, yo. If I freaking die before meeting aliens, I'm gonna be so upset. I have to live at least a few thousand years to be able to expect aliens having been met. All right? You don't have to hold your breath, man. This is how Rome ended. We're seeing it happen right in front of our eyes. America is very far away from collapse, just to like preface that as well. Because again, What collapsed with Rome is infrastructure, Sam. And Rome was small. And Rome was shit. Rome was Rome was not a good place to live. Right? Yes, it was the most society. It was the most sophisticated society of the time. It was horrible. Don't believe me? Go and do your own research. It was horrible. There was literal shit in the streets. Literal shit in the streets. People would die. And then there would be people with caravans walking through the streets looking for corpses. And then some streets were walked less often than others. So there would be rotting corpses in the streets with you. The food that was available was the equivalent of freaking mushed up paste that got like turned into slivers and olive oil. Right, that was like the extent of the food you could expect. Rome was a shithole. Right, was not a good place to live at all. Right, and it makes very good sense that it would collapse. America is in a very different state when it comes to that. You have modern plumbing, you have a fiber internet, you have very sophisticated technology companies that are now actively developing hundreds of, well, not hundreds of trillions, let's say trillions. I mean, it might be hundreds of trillions. No, not just trillions. Trillions of dollars of data centers, to basically born onto Earth a new form of intelligence, right? And that form of intelligence is going to be capable of feats that no human can even imagine. America won't collapse, dear friends. Not anytime soon, at least. Not in the next 80 years, right? Maybe 80 years from now, when the rest of the world is equally as advanced, right? There could be a collapse. But again, if you look at historical collapses, every time there is a collapse, the society becomes better afterwards, right? More egalitarian, more equality as a principle, right? So one, I don't think it is going to collapse anytime soon. And even if it's going to collapse, it's going to get better afterwards because you have all of the buildings, you have all of the infrastructure, you have the roads, you have the electric lines, you have the surface area to build on, right? Like, and that stuff doesn't collapse. Maybe over time, roads can slowly disintegrate, but again, it's going to take 80 years. 80 years. Like if suddenly everything stops, all maintenance on America stops right now, the next 80 years, you'll still have a better quality of life than we here in South Africa have today, right? I actually had this conversation with Jovan like 3 days ago. I watched Scarface for the first time. And Scarface basically starts off with this immigration office thing, right? Where Tino gets into the office and then gets questioned and basically tries to lie his way into America, right? And then he gets put into like an immigration camp and then he has to murder someone in order to get his green card. And then he does that, right? And then he enters this world that is America, right? And as I'm watching this movie, the movie I think is like made in 1986, right? And it plays off in 1980 to, I don't know when, but 1980, 1981. And then as I was watching that movie and kind of like absorbing this information, it dawned on me that America was more developed than South Africa is right now 50 years ago, right? The world you live in is more developed than today's, like my world has been 50 years ago. Like 5 decades have passed, and South Africa is not where you were 50 years ago, right? And that stuff doesn't collapse. That doesn't collapse. That stuff's gonna be sticking around for still a long time. Wrong. You don't hold your breath, man. Bless again. Yeah, I never brought into the whole too big to fail belief. Yeah, I'm not saying it's too big to fail. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying what failure looks like is, again, not having enough housing, for instance, right? Not having places to put people, not having the infrastructure to deal with human waste, or having the piping to pump water so they can have stuff to drink. America already has that stuff, right? If there is a global collapse, if America collapses, right, the whole world is like utterly fucked. right? And again, if America collapses, our financial system is unfortunately going to go alongside it. And that means there will be no money to pay for infrastructure in countries like my own, right? There's already no money for infrastructure in countries like my own because of how much plundering of our, public funds there are. So in that way, right, it's not a too big to fail thing. It's like things are already there, right? The things that are there have been built to a standard that makes it a little bit hard for it to fail. Unless, like, the only possibility of like an American collapse that I can see is if like some sort of foreign enemy carpet nukes the entire American surface, right? That's the only way there is like a real collapse. And again, with the sophisticated technologies that America already has, that is very unlikely. And if that happens, then America is going to carpet nuke whoever nukes them, and then we're all going to be kumbayaing into the afterlife, right? And then there's nothing to worry about. What's there to worry about, right? Then we get to transcend onto the next plane of existence and look back at our earth life and be like, wow, we were really stupid. Extra stupid. Melt, maybe you already met aliens. Experientially, I have, but not personally, right? Like I, with my eyes closed, and like the most insane alien meeting I had like during a Wim Hof meditation session where I was doing breathwork exercises, and then I couldn't get where I was going, right? Like there's usually like this 3 cycles thing where you go for 3 cycles of Wim Hof breathing, and then the last cycle you hold your breath for as long as possible. And I held my breath for like 2 or 3 minutes, and I was just buzzing. I was just like, and I couldn't break through to where I was going. Kobe! Kobe! Stop that! Kobe! Komiso! Kobe! Komiso! Kobe! Kobe, stop that! Stop that! Stop that! Hey, help me! You're not helping. Not true. What's stopping us from taking? What's stopping us from taking smart views? Ego and the unwillingness to admit that we're wrong about certain things, right? Which is also ego as an attachment. That's the big thing that's stopping us, Whoopi. Right? Because if you're unwilling to admit there's any fault, there's anything that you're doing wrong, then Kobe, then you're unable to do anything that's going to make things better. So with that in mind, I appreciate you, friends. I'll show you a flower one more time, and then I'll read you a poem. I'll read you a poem. Darcy Blas. Darcy Bias. Alrighty. Let me. Ooh. Let me read this poem. I just saw the earnings of Patreon, and it gave me a gut punch for a second. The power of commitment. The world does not bend for half-hearted wishes. It does not change for the ones who only dream aloud and never stay to see the dawn. But when a human being commits, truly commits, the ground itself takes notice. The air thickens with purpose. The impossible begins to rearrange itself. Commitment is not loud. It is steady. It is the hand that does not shake when the hours grow long. It is the vow repeated in silence again and again until even doubt grows tired and lays itself down. I have seen it in myself. The days I showed up when no one asked. the work I carried when no one cheered, these became the proof, the power, the turning of my life towards something unshakable. Do not be fooled by the fantasies your mind invents. They are smoke. They scatter in the first wind. Commit instead to what is real, the body, the breath. The work that waits in front of you. Anchor yourself and the current of your life. Anchor yourself, and the current of your life will carve valleys, will split stone, will change the shape of the world. The truth is simple. If you will not commit, you will not change. But if you do, if you hold fast, unyielding, even when no one sees, the world itself cannot remain the same. What a poem to accentuate today's entire conversation, right? Many people are so quick to point out all of the faults of the world, how the world is bad, how the world is due to collapse. But very few people are willing to do the things that it requires inside the self to change, to make sure that that doesn't end up happening, right? And it is going to be our responsibility, every single person on planet Earth. It's going to be you. Nobody is coming to save us, unfortunately, right? I think that's why we're fascinated with aliens as well, is that maybe they're going to come and save us. No, it's going to be up to us. It has always been up to us. I say, what's better? Thank you very much. I will say, what's better? Thank you very much. Yeah, that's your prerogative, bro. That is your prerogative. Got something in my ear. We hate that. It's the foothold darkness has in our world. It inhabits the highest echelons of power, corrupts many of our world and industry leaders. We, holding no sway over the world, are not touched by that ick. And so, we may think rationally, intelligently. Those that are caught up in this shit, they're gonna continue to do nasty things that make conditions worse for others. But you're right, we're not like that by default. We all have a heart. We all have the capacity to live openly, unselfishly, always considering others, and taking stewardship of our earth. My mom said to me, it's not wrong to participate in a broken world while we live in it. And that's where I am with that. I can decide my level of spiritual commitment to my heart, as can anyone else. It's true. There is hope still, right? I'm going to keep showing up for that hope infinitely, indefinitely. That's why I'm here, right? And again, eventually I will be vindicated. Everything that I've said will be proven true, right? Because I'm saying the things I'm saying from a place of love, right? That's my anchor. And with that as a commitment, I'll continue, right? I'll continue showing up for that love with you, friends. I've made that commitment, and I won't falter, all right? I might die, but I won't falter, all right? See you, friends, again tomorrow for some more love. Thank you for joining me today. I appreciate having you here in the space with me. It's always a pleasure. I'll see you again soon. Goodbye for today, friends. Until we do it again tomorrow. Cheers!